What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. Today we have kind of an interesting special video where I'm going to be talking about a deck that I did for the lucky person who gets it. I feel like they'll be lucky if they get it, but that's a matter of opinion. So what me and my friends like to do is every year we kind of do this kind of like deck giveaway for Christmas, where we call it a deck exchange, but whatever. So we do this every year. Everyone who's participating builds a budget deck, and we do have price restrictions. We don't want it to be like too powerful or pretty much above a pre-con per se, but we just want to have people be able to make something that they can give away. So what we'll do is we'll match up the number of people that are there, and that way everybody gets a deck from someone else, and then we spend the rest of the night playing those decks pretty much. It's a fun night. We do it for Christmas, like I said, and so this year I'm covering my deck because I figured why not make a video about it, so that way you guys can see kind of like what we do, and it might inspire you for your group or your play group or maybe some friends to do the same event that we do every year, which we have a lot of fun with. So this year I built an Imoti Celebrant of Bounty budget deck, which I think hopefully works. It works in theory, but I haven't tested it. So like I said, our decks are just budget, but they have to function. So I went with Imoti because Imoti is really cool. I love Imoti. I'm a big fan of Imoti. I love Cascade and big mana decks. So I decided to go with a creature that represents that, where Imoti has an interesting effect. So let me get into Imoti real quick. Imoti Celebrant of Bounty is a 5-drop, 3 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue legendary creature Naga Druid that has the effect of Cascade. So when it enters the battlefield, exile the top card of your library until you hit a non-land card, and then you may cast it without paying its mana cost. And then its second effect is spells you cast with converted mana cost 6 or greater have Cascade. So even if you cascade into another card that meets that requirement, which we'll get into later, you cascade again, which has like a lot of potential for Imoti to just kind of go off and be this like really big creature swarm type deck, which is why I decided to make it for somebody, because I've played Imoti before. He's been a commander of mine personally, and I wanted to share that fun that I had with someone else. So for Imoti, we have a couple builds on EDH Rec. We have a big mana build, which is usually the typical build that you'll see for him, which is throw a whole bunch of big stuff in there that are above 6 mana cost, have a lot of ramp, and just kind of have fun, combo off type thing. Get a lot of creatures on the board, make people go crazy. This one I am completely unfamiliar with, but the Kuraga companion. I haven't had a chance to play with companions, so I'm not going to talk about something that I don't know. Artifacts is really fun. That's how I built my Imoti deck when he first came out. I built him as a Golem Tribal commander, which was really fun. I might do that as a build someday on the channel, but pretty much there are a lot of really big artifact creatures and artifacts, because it's his second effect is just any spell that costs 6 or greater has Cascade. So artifacts, artifact creatures, enchantments, instants, sorceries, anything that has 6 or higher has Cascade. So when you have creatures like Darksteel and Blightsteel Colossus, which are like 11 and 12 mana cost and stuff like that, Maelstrom Colossus, which is an 8-drop, you have a whole bunch of stuff that you can go into, which is really fun. Then there's just a Cascade build where you just put a whole bunch of Cascade cards together, and you just keep cascading into other cards and cascading into other cards, going down the spiral, because Cascade, I didn't say it before, I'm sorry, the card that you cascade into has to cost less than the creature or card that has Cascade. So since Imoti is a 5, you have to cast a card that is 4 or lower, and so on and so forth. So if I cascade with a creature that is 6, then I have to find a non-land card that's 5 or less to cast for free. And then lastly, we have Eldrazi Tribal, which was actually the first Imoti deck that I built. A friend of mine gave me all the Eldrazi Titans, and it was like, here, you have no excuse to build Eldrazi Tribal now. And Imoti was the card that ran that deck. The only problem I have with Eldrazi Tribal with Imoti is that whenever I casted Imoti from the command zone, he has that initial cascade trigger, and usually within the first 3 or 4 cards that I reveal from the top of the deck that I exile, they were like the Titans. So it was like 10, 11, 12. So I was like, this is useless. Like every time I cast Imoti, I get the cards that I want, and they go to the bottom of my deck because they're too high. So yeah, that was the issue I had with Imoti as an Eldrazi commander. But overall, Emoti's really fun, and I have the deck list that I built here on Architect, so we're going to go over to that in a second. So here we are on my page, and these are the decks that I've built so far. I'm going to be getting into more. I'm going to be covering mostly all these. I've covered some of these decks already in other videos, and some of them I will be posting pretty soon. But here I have my Imoti deck, and my Imoti budget deck is $36. So that's pretty good. Like, this deck only costs you $36. If you want to build this deck, you can see how much it'll cost you. You can actually copy the list and, you know, post it into TCG Player and get the whole list and have it sent to you if that's something that you're interested in. I will also share the deck list in the description below if you're interested in checking it out for yourself. But this is what I was working on, where there are a lot of creatures. So you see there's 34 creatures. There are 17 cards that are above CMC of 6. I didn't want to go with too many, since this is a deck that, you know, is supposed to be budget. It's supposed to be, you know, for someone else, kind of like a starter deck per se. So since it's like a precon, a commander precon, I didn't want to go with something that was way over the top. I mean, our budget is like, I think it's like close to $70, but I wanted it to play well. I wanted it to have synergy. So the reason why mine is like that is because the big creatures that I have do something. So like Aggressive Mammoth gives all of your other creatures trample. You know, I have creatures that, you know, Bellowing Triangle Worm, which gives all of your creatures Intimidate. Stuff that actually helps you out, so that way you're going to deal damage. That way you're going to have evasion. I have a lot of mana dorks that are big that have cycling. I have a lot of mana dorks just period that give you something like draw, you know, something that just keeps the deck moving, very fluent. One of the cards that I found very helpful for the deck that inspired me actually was the Giant Ataphage. The Giant Ataphage came from a precon that was about crap, I forgot the mechanic. Populate. Sorry. It was about the Populate mechanic. It was a Naya deck, and it was actually shown on game nights for that precon. Jimmy Wong kind of went off and made like a bunch of copies with he copied an Ataphage. He copied someone else's Giant Ataphage and then made copies with the Ataphage, because the Ataphage makes copies of itself whenever it deals combat damage to a player. So he kind of just went off and had like this really big scary board, which was really cool, and that inspired me. When I saw that card, I was like, that would be great with Imoti, because Imoti, you know, cares about cards that are above 6 CMC, and since the Giant Ataphage is a 7-drop, which has 7 power, 7 toughness, you know, you can get that out for free. It has trample. You hit somebody with it, that, you know, it has trample. It could have intimidate, you know, or you could add in flying if you want to, and then just make copies and then just go off on people. So as far as the creatures go, that was kind of like my mindset into the deck. Was I wanted to be able to have draw, I wanted to be able to have evasion, I want to have, you know, mana dorks to accelerate the deck faster. And then one of the main cards that I absolutely had to put in for budget purposes was trying to find it. It's an M, and I for some reason can't see. Was the Merc Fiend Liege. Merc Fiend Liege is kind of like the I kind of want to say a budget Seedborn Muse for Simic. It gives other creatures that are green +1/1, other creatures that are blue +1/1, and then you untap all green and or blue creatures you control during each other player's untap step. So that way, if you have mana dorks, which there are plenty of mana dorks in here, you can always untap your mana dorks, and then if that person wants to upgrade the deck, they could add Leyline of Anticipation or something to give all their creatures flash, and then they can just, keep cascading even on their opponent's turns. That was my mindset towards the deck. So, like I said, the creatures base is just evasion, help, power, just a whole bunch of ideas of things that could get things done, just so that the deck isn't stagnant. The lower creatures help you progress with card draw and mana ramp. As far as the land base goes, I kept it pretty simple, mostly just basic lands, but a couple dual lands like Jungle Basin, which can tap for a colorless and a green. The Vivid Creek and Vivid Grove, because they can tap for any color. Since it is a budget deck, also I was thinking of, like I said before, kind of like a precon. Even though there are a couple tapped lands, there aren't that many. There are a lot of more basics than anything else. There are 14 forests and 15 islands. And then when it comes to instants, I personally don't use a lot of counter spells, so I don't want to impose that on other people, but it is good to have counter spells. As I tell people, at least having a few if you want to upgrade it to more, but having a counter spell is seen kind of like a targeted removal spell in a sense. You're removing a threat or removing something that might hurt your board. But mostly I wanted to go with a lot of draw and mana ramp, since Imoti is a 5-drop commander and a lot of the cards are 5 or higher on average. There are a lot more 5 and up cards than there are 6 and up cards. I wanted to go with just things that could help the deck progress with mana ramp, with card draw, a little bit of targeted removal, exactly like I was saying. With enchantments, I didn't have enough mana rocks to really fill in the spaces that I wanted to. So like with cards like Soul Ring, because this is all from my personal collection that I'm giving away, I didn't have like extra Soul Rings or Arcane Signets, etc., etc. So I used enchantments that allow you to tap lands for multiple mana. So instead of just tapping your land for 1 mana, you could tap it for 2 or for 3 mana. That's what I was going with. So Verdant Haven, New Horizons, Market Festival, cards like that. Arametra's Favor, which comes in and lets you draw a card, and then you can tap your land for 2 mana. Gift of Paradise, which allows you to tap it for 3 mana, etc. Stuff like that. That's what I really wanted to go with, since I didn't have the extra mana rocks, and it kind of works because they're pretty cheap in themselves with the amount of land that we have. We have 39 land, so with 39 land and 8 enchantments, about 5-6 of them being ramp, and then also with the mana dorks and the instants and sorceries that are also ramp, like Harrow, keeps the deck moving. Lastly, with sorceries, I just wanted more of the same. I just wanted the deck to just be fast and hit hard. So more draw cards, Urban Evolution, Unexpected Results, to just get either a creature or a land onto the field. It kind of is like a pseudo cascade. What you do is you shuffle your library, then reveal the top card. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If it's a land, you may put it onto the battlefield and return Unexpected Results to your hand, so that way you could cast it again. So if you have 8 free mana, you could get possibly 2 more cards, either if it's a creature or a land. Maybe it's an enchantment, who knows, you might be able to get more stuff, but you can keep playing this card, and that way you keep getting stuff back. And I think that's really cool when you have a resource that you can just keep using over and over. And of course, if you get into a creature that's 6 or bigger with unexpected results and Imoti on the field, that kind of like triggers multiple cascades. So where unexpected results could possibly get you a creature that's 6 or higher that you cast for free, that will trigger Imoti. And then, you know, you get unexpected results back, you do it again, you get a bunch of cards. You see where I'm going with this. Other than that, I just wanted to go with like cards, more targeting removal. You got to have it, at least in my pod, you got to have it. With our group, we tend to play a lot of artifacts and enchantments. So I tried to have in some things like Splice and Twine, Track Down, you know, other cards that that remove stuff. Boundless Realms is one card that I felt like I probably should have took out, but I'm gonna leave it in there just because it's a big spell. I mean, it's mana ramp and it's something that you would play late, which really wouldn't be helpful, but it's a big spell that gets you X lands, X basic lands from your library, and then you'd still be able to cascade with Imoti. So I was like, it's there, why not? Jace's Triumph, just to draw cards. Like I said, budget deck, nothing really too fancy. More mana ramp, more card draw, scry, more free stuff. Urban Evolution, draw 3, play an additional land that turn, and that's the deck. So I didn't want to make this too long. I didn't want to like go into like all the reasons why I put in cards, because it's pretty straightforward. There's really nothing to talk about. It's a straightforward deck. Summon big creatures, draw cards, hit hard with trample and evasion, win games fast. I mean, that's kind of the best thing. It's pretty barbaric. You know, I do have cards like Soul of the Harvest, so that way when you cascade into other creatures, you draw cards, which is really helpful. I have other creatures that enter the battlefield just to draw cards and be used as blockers. Cards like Roaring Slugworm, which tap all artifacts, so that way you don't have to worry about stuff. You know, River Serpent, who's just a big cycling creature. You know, like I said, there's just stuff there. I also do have a couple creatures that return. I don't remember all of them, but I do know Riptide Chimera, and I think there's 2 other creatures that are blue that return a creature to your hand. So that way, if you want to cascade again, because at the beginning of your upkeep, it'll return either an enchantment or a creature. I have a little bit of both. So for Riptide, I have enchantments, because since there is enchantment ramp in case you want to get the draw effect again off of certain cards, or even cards like New Horizons, which gives you a +1 counter on a creature when it enters, or the other one, Karametra's Favor, where you can, you know, play it again, get a draw off of it, things like that. So ways to return creatures and ways to return enchantments. Like I said, just synergy. That's pretty much just the name of the deck. Synergy, big creatures, smash face, win games. Enough said. Anyway, that's it for me. That's it for this deck. Like I said, the link to the deck is in the description below. Let me know if your group does anything like this, or if this is something that you and your group could do with a gift exchange or a deck exchange, making stuff that's budget for friends, and then, you know, giving them away to other people in your group, or like us, making it a big group for people to join, and then just, you know, having a deck that they could play with, or something that could broaden their horizons. You know, maybe you haven't played a deck before that's a certain way, or it's outside of your play style. Maybe you don't play big mana, maybe you only play Voltron, and someone gives you a big mana deck and you're like, you know what, this is pretty cool, I can work with this, I can upgrade this deck, you know, type of thing. Yeah. I'm done. But anyway, that's it for me. I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know if this video was helpful, or if it gave you an idea, or if your group is doing something similar. Let me know what you guys do, or what your restrictions are, or what your price limit is. If yours is different from ours, because we're talking about raising our price limit on our decks from, I think, 70 to like 150, just because making commander decks are getting more and more expensive now to make good ones, or at least to have a certain synergy to it. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm done rambling. See y'all in the next video. Peace.